If task had nothing to do with your job and your only job was, I need to make sure that this buyer, this seller has the best possible experience they can when buying or selling real estate, how would you define the client experience then?
Welcome back to another episode of All or Nothing in Real Estate. I'm your host, Matt Smith, the founder of All or Nothing in Real Estate. Just a reminder, this podcast is a movement to give back to this amazing industry that has given so much to me and my family. Guys, I've got a very, very special episode for you today. I just had an amazing meeting with some of my team that I wanted to share with each and every one of you. And so I'm literally going to open up the curtain and behind the scenes of this meeting that we had internally in our organization that was on the client experience, that was around the importance of the client experience. How can we make the client experience better? What parts can we own from an operations standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from a company standpoint, from a listing coordinator standpoint, transaction coordinator standpoint? And so this meeting, we called it our client experience meeting. And we've actually combined our operations team, our marketing team, our client care team together, and we've combined them and called them the experience team. Because what I believe as a team leader, as a real estate coach, is the most important thing you can protect in your environment is the experience that the client has. And so I hope this is impactful for you. There's a lot of takeaways. Again, it's raw, it's real, it's authentic. It's behind the scenes of some self-discovery you'll hear, some great conversations with our team. It's just something that I thought was important that I peel back the curtain and take you inside of how some of our organization, for lack of a better term, struggles, how we work through some of them to make improvements in the client experience that we have for our clients and our organization. I hope you guys enjoy. Please let me know your feedback. If there's any feedback on this, please let me know. I know this was impactful for me. I went back and rewatched it. It was really impactful for our organization, and I hope it will be impactful for you.
So first, super excited. Who all remembers when we did these monthly experience L10s? Raise your hand. Who here got value from those?
No.
Heck yeah. Yeah, everyone's like, this is the worst. These are some of my favorites. I love having multi-departments together and hearing kind of how we all work. And so I'm excited to see where this goes. I know we did an exercise, I think it was maybe 6 months ago now, where we defined who our clients were. And so sometimes we hear client, we think, our buyers and sellers, but we all have tons of different clients. We spent a whole exercise working on that, but we have got title companies, lenders, we've got community members, we've got all sorts of clients that we work with on a day in and day out basis. So the first question I want to ask you guys is, what is the client experience? Why is it important?
It's the client experience is the perceived journey that a client goes through with a company.
I know, I'm gonna star that because I think that's a really interesting perspective.
Perceived.
Tree rat.
Who else? What is the client experience? Why is it important?
Oh, Melanie volunteered. Thanks, Melanie.
Client experience is our day-to-day tasks, our day-to-day activities, everything we do every day should be to provide the best client experience.
I agree, but that is the action items to do. But what is the client experience that you're trying to make better? So the activities you're doing are to enhance the client experience. Agreed. What is the client experience?
What the client experiences when he works with us.
What does that mean?
I would say that it's the client experience is more of how the clients feel when they communicate with us, because we want to make them feel valued and that they're important to us. So in communicating with them, we want their experience to be when they communicate with us that, hey, this person's here for me. I'm going to talk to this person.
Yeah, absolutely. What about on Zoom? What's the client experience?
I think Tyler really hit the nail on the head with how he said it's the client's perception, because we could be doing everything we think we need to give a good client experience, but at the end it comes down to how they felt during that entire interaction, and we can't dictate how they feel. we can only contribute to having a good experience. We can't tell them, no, you're wrong, you had a good experience.
Wouldn't that be great if you could?
I mean, technically,
Well, but yeah, I mean, like, we can't tell them that their feelings are invalid.
Ashley, thanks for volunteering. What are your thoughts?
I agree with Tyler and Katie in that it is 100% how the client feels through the entire experience. I agree, like, I think our tasks are important, but again, like, I'm gonna say it how Katie said it, we can't tell them that they had a great experience. And we can't tell them that everything that we did throughout their transaction or their time with us constituted a great experience. It's 100% how they feel our interactions with them went, how they feel their transaction went. I don't think the client, I think that we play a very important role, obviously, in the client experience, but it's 100% their perception of what they're feeling at the time.
I'll make an observation, and I think we'll circle back to it later. Something I would like to be, raise your hand, show of hands if you're open-minded in this meeting. Okay, cool. Even if you're not, you told me you were, so I got your consent. Please try to be open-minded through this discussion. I'm open-minded as well, right? And so I'm not saying this is the right way, this is just how I think. And so I would love for you guys to give me your perspective if you disagree. But every time that I heard the word task twice when we asked what the definition of client experience was. My opinion is, I'm gonna say something very, very strong. Tasks have zero to do with the client experience. We're focused on the wrong thing. Why did we when Jenna renamed and put us all together and called it the experience team, why did she do that?
Because we all have a role in the experience that the client has when buying or selling a home.
Absolutely. And if we don't get that part right, what else matters? Nothing. Nothing. We have a broker. Yes, we got compliance, we got all that stuff, but you guys certainly help with that. But that's the broker literally has a license on the line for that. That's their job. And we sometimes overstep into that thinking that I got to get my task goes. And certainly you guys are task oriented. You're phenomenal. I love it. But I'm asking you again, open-minded, you raised your hand. So play along here with me. If task had nothing to do with your job and your only job was, I need to make sure that this seller has the best possible experience they can when buying or selling real estate, how would you define the client experience then? If our gut reaction when we're asked that question had anything to do with tasks, that's the wrong path. We're forging a new path. Once we figure out where we're going on this path, then we can put processes in place. But forget the processes we have. The clean slate. What is that client experience that we want to create? What is it? What I'm reminded of this conversation, and I don't know where you guys stand politically and whatever. But I've seen some things on TikTok, blah, blah, blah. And it's like these individuals challenging someone on saying that I claim to be a woman, so I'm a woman, or call me, I'm a whatever, right? Just these conversations. And one of the things that really stood out to me in these conversations that I saw was there's somebody that's just very matter of fact about it and says, okay, so if you're saying that to be a woman, you have to identify as a woman, that's awesome. But what are you identifying as? What is the definition of a woman? Well, that's what I identify as. Someone who identifies as a woman is a woman. Cool. It's just a circle though, right? What is that? That's not the definition of a woman. That's how you feel. And that's awesome. And we are okay with you feeling that way. But what is it? And I don't know if that's a parallel example or not, but I feel like that's what conversation we're having right now.
Yeah, and that's why
we're not really defining client experience.
That's why I really love that you use the word perceive, because perception is such a big thing that is not something you have influence over perception, but you do not have control over perception. That's somebody else's experience, not yours. And so with that perception, I think let's narrow in on that a little bit. And I want to hear, because we can't control perception, but we can influence perception, what are some things that we do to influence that perception to have a good client experience with our clients?
I mean, I would say we redid this new scorecard, and that is to sorry, I did not have a fully formed thought when I started talking.
Story of my life.
Well, so the scorecard we came up with, it is to help the clients feel like they are not having to beg for information. That's kind of how I see it. We don't want the clients to feel like they are having to beg for information that should be readily available to them and given to them without them having to ask. And so the whole point of the goals we have on that scorecard is to make sure that we're not even giving them the opportunity to feel like they are having to beg for that information.
Really good. I love that. I got it written down. I want to keep going because I want to go back to that too. What else do you guys have?
I think just building off top of that, not them begging for information, but also just solving their problems before they realize that they're problems.
Solving problems in advance.
I feel like that would go under as well as just listening to the client in general and like how they are feeling, what their concerns are, and just listening pretty much to what's going on.
Listening to actually understand versus listening to reply.
Yes.
Love all of this. What else you guys got? How do we influence the perception?
I would say it's also our personal mindset. As you say, with the tasks, we can have as many tasks as we want. It's not going to change the actual client experience. I feel like if you look forward to calling your clients and talking to them and building relationships with them, it's easier to provide an amazing client experience versus a robotic, here, this is my task today, I have to do this. I have to call this client today to update them because I haven't done it in a week or so. But like wanting to call them, like not even having to look at your task and be like, oh, today I'm gonna call this guy because, hey, we've had a couple showings this week, let me call him, or something like that.
Something that Jen's gonna put on her list to circle back later, that just reminds me of something that I wanted to put in play for a long time and we've never been able to. And maybe it's not possible, maybe that's why, but I think that we could live in a world where 80% of our files, we have Tuesday check-ins and every client knows that we do a check-in every Tuesday. Are there exceptions? Sure. There's a milestone that happens, we get an appraisal back, we do something. But what about the 60% of files, whatever that number is that don't have any of those milestones that week, we call them all at once. And we time blocking, we do it, does that make sense? Like how much more effective would that be? So I don't know what that process looks like, but I think that's something we should visit.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to highlight that, that Melanie said was really good, Melanie. Is that I think one of the things when I think client experience is, as I say this all the time, and you guys are such a critical part of this in so many ways. We get to help, we have the privilege of helping people with the biggest purchase in their life every day. That's what we do. You may have 100 files that you're working, but they have one. And do they feel like they're special? Do they feel like they're important? Or do they feel like they're just a cog in a machine? It has to feel like a cog in a machine. But if you build relationships, you solve problems in advance, you make them feel valued, you over communicate with them. And what if we could use milestones that every single transaction has to transfer excitement? Melanie, you brought this up, this popped in my head. What do you get every single week? You help people do one thing that's really exciting part of their journey. When their house goes live, you're the one that pushes go, right?
Well, it's Regina, but yeah.
You're in charge of the process, right?
What?
Where's Regina at, by the way?
She's on vacation.
Okay. We'll get it recorded. So my point being in that is that's a milestone that every single client gets that should be as exciting as hell for them. But do we deliver them the experience to transfer our excitement for them so that they can be excited? Does that make sense? Or do we just send them an email, hey, let us know it's live? We're going to do exclamation marks in an email, right? But do they feel that excitement? Do they feel like we're excited? We appreciate their business. And Tyler, great news, man. Your listing just went live. The photos look great. Take a look when you get a chance and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for choosing Matt Smith Real Estate Group. It's different. How long does that phone call take?
2 minutes less. What? I've made a couple.
But it wasn't a rhetorical question, but thank you for answering. Less than 2 minutes is the answer. But my point being is like, I think that if we removed, again, let's come in with a clean slate. I want you guys to say you're open-minded. So let's pretend we are. You guys probably are, I'm just joking. But like, let's just remove what we know about real estate. And let's say our only job is client experience. And what task, processes, milestones, things can we do to transfer these things to the client that we have the honor and privilege to serve? It should be exciting for them. And we have the opportunity to transfer that excitement. And I think that we just kind of miss the boat on that unintentionally sometimes. We fall into, we had a bad day, we've got a lot to do. And there's a process we're going to take you guys through. I want to be very, very clear. I'm jumping all over the place, Jenna. But I want to be very, very, very clear. Jenna and I's intentions are not to add anything to anyone's plate. We're shifting. That makes sense? I don't want anyone to have to do more work. That is not the point of this. I just want our work to have a bigger impact. That make sense?
I have two things real quick. First thing, and this is just a loving reach out for everyone. Is there anything more important than the client experience in our company? Anything at all? No? Awesome. So then I'm going to ask full engagement and full focus on this meeting. I know there's other videos that need to be edited. There might be files happening, stuff like that. But please, if you guys can focus fully on this meeting, that would be absolutely awesome, because there's going to be so much gold in this. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. The second thing I want to bring up is, did anyone have a light bulb go off when Melanie was talking about tasks? Because I kind of had a light bulb moment. So, and I want to throw it out there. I could be totally off base. When Matt or myself kind of talk about tasks and there's some friction, does it ever confuse you? Raise your hand if you feel confused by that friction sometimes. No one else?
They do, they just don't want to admit it.
Why when Matt said, okay, it's not about tasks, like why he stopped there? Did anyone feel like but tasks are important? Did anyone else feel that at all in their gut?
It's okay.
It's okay if you did.
I mean, the tasks are important in terms of keeping us accountable, but I don't think that is like the mindset. Like the mindset isn't the focus on the task itself. It's on the accountability it holds us to.
I think we could do our jobs without tasks, technically, like, because we've done it so long. Like tasks, the task list and such is for like entry level kind of, and to keep us organized maybe versus all over the place.
Yeah. So, and I definitely am not, this is not a, let's throw task lists out the window. They're phenomenal. We need them. They do keep us on track. So please don't throw them away. Yeah. Please do not throw them away. But what Melanie was saying and why Matt kind of interjected with the tasks, like, why are we going into tasks? Like he made that point to say that. And Melanie, I think she hit the nail on the head where tasks are robotic. They're a to-do list. They're a checkbox. It's not intentional. It's I need to get this done, boop, done. I need to get this done, boop, done. Like you're just knocking stuff out left and right. A client experience is not a robotic action. It's an intentional action. It's something that you are incredibly thoughtful about, and it's not something that you can put in a task list because you can't automate, you can't like duplicate. For every single person's different, every single file is different. You can't have a same kind of thing for every person. You have to be able to maneuver and personalize and have that thought and that intention, that power of thought with each client. So I just wanted to take a minute and point that out, because I do think sometimes there is confusion around when we bring tasks into this of like, well, I need tasks though. Why are we saying it's negative? So I wanted to kind of point that out.
I would love to, actually, Katie, one of you two or both, please, give your perspective on what Jenna just shared, please. Break that down for us, what you're thinking. It can be an incomplete thought is perfectly fine.
I see, like, I guess I'm kind of seeing both sides of it. Like my brain is thinking we use those tasks to make sure we're doing everything that the client needs in order to close on time. But I also see like, you can't just rely on that. How you deliver each update, how you deliver what step we've passed through and what steps are next is the client experience focus.
So I want to unpack a couple things you just said there. Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, well,
All right.
probably Zoom. I'm like, yeah, I got it.
So number one, and Katie, you didn't mean it this way. Words matter. But I caught something you said. I see both sides. I want to be very clear. We're on the same side, right? I think we would all agree, but let's just adjust that. So reset that expectation. We're on the same side here. Second is you said something that's very powerful. The tasks are to help the client close on time. Don't disagree with that whatsoever. What I'm saying is if the client closed on time, what else can we, like if our job as a TC, if our job as an LC, if our job as experienced team members to make sure the closing happens on time, like that's 10% of what we should be focusing on, really. Right? Like there's so much more opportunity. And are there tasks that are repetitive, that are reminders, there are dates that are important, deadline, of course, all that. I'm not arguing any of that. It's very crucial. What I'm saying is above and beyond that, if that did not exist and your sole focus was how can I make sure that this buyer, this seller has a world-class experience that they share as raving fans of our brand forever and tell all their friends because we went above and beyond for them. What can we do to make that happen? And the answer isn't, well, we did our task and close on time. That make sense?
Yeah, and I think I just was like, I was really general and really vague because like I just didn't elaborate more on kind of what was going on in my head. Because like I know I just said making sure they're closing on time and like using those tasks as like guides.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the client experience, it's really anything that could happen or needs to happen, we are taking that load off of the client's shoulders. If there is anything within our control to take that stress off of the client, that is our sole purpose, is to make sure that that client doesn't feel that weight.
Love that. We're getting closer and closer, Katie.
Okay.
Ashley, what are your thoughts?
So if I'm being totally honest, I think that the like tasks and the client experience are like two separate things. Because I think our task list is there to make sure that obviously everything that goes into a transaction, compliance, all of that stuff. But I think that our client really doesn't care. Like that stuff doesn't matter to them. It's how they feel throughout their transaction. Like, are they being updated? And we shouldn't need the task list that is there to provide a great experience. If like, I just feel like they're two separate things. It's one is how the client feels and how they perceive, like, did we update them enough? Did they feel like a weight was lifted off their shoulders? Did they feel like, oh, I didn't even have to think about that? Or were they completely unaware of fires that happened that we never even brought to their attention? So I think it's just two separate things.
When you first started talking, I'm like, I'm not sure where she's going with this, but I hear you. I think that as we process, we can maybe change some wording around that, but how you ended that, I agree with. I do. And that's what I would like for this discussion is like, in your positions, all of you are gonna have check boxes that you check daily for your job, right? That's not going anywhere. All of us have that, myself included. But I would love for us to just be open-minded and use Ashley's analogy of that's what we're talking today is separate from that. And so if that's completely separate, let's go back to what Matt wrote on the whiteboard when I heard the word task twice. I wrote it and I crossed it out. This is not about tasks. But what Ashley just said, right? That's not what this meeting is. This is about how can we deliver a client experience. And so
let's move into what are some expectations that you guys would say that we each have to the like what are some of our MSREG expectations for client experience? Things that you guys are held accountable to within the client experience itself. I want to hear from like every single person on this because we all have roles in it.
I would say follow through.
Follow through
And follow up.
those are two different things, and I love that you said that. Can you expand on what each of them means to you?
Yeah, so like I had my check-in with Jenna on our numbers earlier this week, and one of the main things that I kind of talked about that I was really focusing on was if I miss any communication from a client, I am getting back to them within a timely manner. And then also if there's something that I know I can't solve right then and there, I will not only follow up, but I will also let them know what my action items I'm going to do to get that answer for them. Instead of just saying, I'll look into it and get back to you, I make sure to be like, I'm going to reach out to this person, see what they say. Once I hear back, I'll let you know. And then I'm checking in like, hey, still haven't heard back, but I followed up, just so they know that it's not just being like left in the dust and sitting there.
That's really good, Katie. That's like that right there is I want everybody to go back and just replay that in your mind. That's really, really good. I love that you had that takeaway. And I think what it does is it eliminates cause for concern. And again, we said it earlier, solving problems in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of what we all do is solve problems. That's how we deliver better client experience. And so if we can, number one, anticipate the problems in advance and let them know how we took care of it and solved it before it happened, that's the best it gets, right? But if there is a problem or is an issue, is a concern, first step one would be, hey, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Don't worry, we got you. We will take care of this for you. We got you, right? Give them that reassurance. Step two would be what Katie that was a masterclass of everything Katie just said. I don't need to repeat it. I can't say it as good as she did.
What else? What are some other expectations? We've got follow through and follow up. What else?
I want to add to that really quickly before we move on. Like all the stuff that Katie said was brilliant. But raise your hand if you can do it to start doing it today, right? Like it doesn't require any training or like it's just a different thought process of how we approach those situations. And the difference it'll be night and day difference.
What would a core value, what core value would tie to what Katie said, doing what she just did, that follow through initiative. What else?
On the extra mile.
Oh, the extra mile.
Sorry.
You're good.
Shut up.
Okay, gold star now.
Yeah, I think both of those. Yeah, go for it, Katie.
I would also say probably integrity, because you have to ensure that you are doing what you say you're going to be doing. Like we've been talking a lot about how words matter, but actions speak louder than words. So it's one thing to tell one of our clients you're going to do something, and it's another thing to do that follow through, do it, and then let them know that it's been taken care of.
So good.
And I feel
You're
like,
giving me goosebumps, Katie. Really good stuff.
and that's why I feel like that's why I said initiative first versus going the extra mile, because talking to a client and updating them, as I told them, shouldn't be going the extra mile.
Yeah.
It's the mile that I'm walking every day.
The mile she'd already.
If I would go the extra mile, I would stop by his house and give him, a card or something, like, I don't
Sure.
know. And
No,
not
that
meet him in
makes sense.
person, but like, that's why I was trying, like,
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. What are some other expectations around MSREG client care?
I
Client-
think being proactive and like instead of reactive with some of the things that we do, like proactively, just a simple example, like sending them their wiring instructions, like just anything that they could ask you for or they may need as in their transaction is, and we're making it readily available instead of them having to ask. So proactive instead of reactive. That's those updates like, oh, we got your appraisal back. Here's the update on that. So they don't have to ask about it. Just not letting them fish for information and just giving it to them before they even have a chance to think about it.
I want to unpack something there, and I want to give you guys the to-do that I think will help eliminate that, and you guys can work together. So first, let me give you the to-do before I forget and I'll unpack it. So Jenna, at every L10, I think what you guys should do is have a data dump throughout the week, and you guys put in there anytime a client asks you for something. Let's start tracking what those things are. And when we start seeing these consistencies and the similar, different clients are asking for the same thing, we see patterns, that's an aha for us. We need a process in place. This usually happens about this time. What can we do to be out in front of it? That make sense?
I like it.
Jenna, if you can facilitate that, I think that will really, really help. And what it'll do too is it'll prevent you guys from having, you guys and gals, from having to stop what you're doing and think that this is a fire because the client asked a question. The client questions will go way down because we're answering their questions before they come, right? Yeah.
say, like, as you said that, I was actually gonna, like, since we started, focusing more on the calls and, I don't know, Katie, Ashley, you probably maybe agree with me or seeing the difference of it made my job a lot easier.
It's awesome.
Communicating with the clients, like knowing what they're thinking, talking to them. That sometimes I'm not gonna lie, like for a while, sometimes I'm like, oh, the big scary client. I don't want to call them because they might be.
Melanie can't be scared of nobody. You're fearless.
Thanks, but no. But sometimes they're just, especially like, I don't know who they are. You don't know what they look like. You don't know, like, for me, it's a hurdle for sure. So, I don't know. It just made my job so much easier over the last 2-3 weeks that, I'm overcoming this hurdle of not making myself talk, but I'm actually looking forward. Like I said, it's the headset. It really helps so much.
Good.
Actually, yeah, I recommend it to everyone. Get yourself a headset if you have to talk to people.
How many freaking times have I said that in this building? All right, cool. Well, I'm glad that people listen to you. Cool. One of the things, thank you, Melanie. That's really good. And I'm glad that it's getting easier. And the cool thing is that it'll get even easier. I don't mean that at every phone call, there'll be times where you dread making a phone call. That's just life, right? There's times where my mom calls. I'm like, damn it, mom, why you, right? Like, that's just life. And I love my mom. So it's just, but I also think what you've experienced is you are eliminating, and we'll go to something that I'll show an illustration, a pretty picture I do on the back of the board, show you guys like why that is. But it really goes back to tying to core value. We talked about integrity, we talked about initiative, we talked about going the extra mile. What did Melanie just demonstrate? Which core value? She's able to do what by making more phone calls? Someone on Zoom. They can't see my whiteboard. Ashley, you still there? Katie, what about you? What do you think? What core value did Melanie, demonstrate there?
I feel like discipline, because she said that there are some times where it's uncomfortable and then you get used to it. And so you have to be disciplined in getting,
Sure.
I mean, but that's just like my own comfort level with phone calls too, is kind of in that realm. So I have to like be super disciplined and force myself to do it. And the more I do it, the more natural it seems to be that, to build that kind of relationship with them and not just keep it to like, it's like the forbidden word, the task. I feel like it's
We
just called,
text that word, Katie, you can't say it anymore.
it's Voldemort now. So
I like discipline. The core value I was searching for there is relationships.
mhm.
Why they've gotten easier is because Melanie's building better relationships with the clients. She feels she understands them. She knows them at a better level. She knows what they're understanding, why it's important to them. She's able to articulate what she can do for them. Like all those things happen, and I'll show you why with an illustration in a minute. But I wanted to go in depth on something Ashley said and I forgot. We had tangents. What was it that I actually said that I was gonna say why that mattered? I gave you this to do for it in the L10. What was it?
L10 to do was the data dump anytime a client asks.
Oh, yeah, yep. So whenever a client asks us a question, I want us to understand, so raise your hand if a client has reached out to you and asked you a question about something at some point. Everybody's hand should be up, right? And that will always happen. We'll never be able to eliminate the 100%. However, think about the journey that most people have to go through before they get out of their comfort zone, pick up the phone, write an email, send a text to you to ask you a question that they probably feel stupid to ask. How long have they been thinking about that question before they ask you?
I mean, if they're anything like me, it's been like hours or days.
Days. And so it's really for them to ask you a question isn't like, oh, it just popped in my head. Let me ask Katie a question. Let me ask Melanie this. No, it's been a whole process and they don't want to bother. They don't want to bug. And for them to get to the point where they're so concerned, they probably slept on it before they asked. And that's just stretching them so far. And what does that do to the experience? Because now they feel like they're the one asking you. And so I just want us to understand why that's important. Now flip the script. What if you had that thought on your mind and you get an email, you get a phone call, you get something with, hey, a lot of people at this part of the journey are curious about what happens next. So I just wanted to let you know in advance, here's the next step, here's what to expect and why it's important. Because 3 weeks in a row, we had 3 clients with the same thing. We did this data dump, that had the same question at the same time. We put in a process for it. And that process, guess what it has, Katie?
Task.
It has a task. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, but does that make sense why that's important?
Well,
Yeah,
yes.
Go for it, Katie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, as you were talking, Matt, all I could think about is like a lot of what you talk about sometimes with the agents and sales is setting those expectations. And so you're kind of talking about how we can do things on our end to set expectations as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And one thing I want to circle with what Matt's talking about and what Katie's talking about, but like Melanie, when you were talking about when you are calling a client, sometimes it's scary for you because you're like, I don't know what they look like. I don't know who they are. It's like this big thing.
There's some mean people out there.
Right. But I want you guys to think about when our clients are reaching out to us, they could potentially feel the same way about us.
Bad, scary real estate team.
Yes. And so when we have things like, phone calls and video text so they can see what you look like and the things that we do those things to help build that bridge of trust. So that way, one, they shouldn't have to call us, but if they do, it's not a scary thing because they know who we are. But I just wanted to bring that in because I thought it just reminded me of the video text that we do. So.
Jen, I want to circle back and make sure we're running out of time here. Can you go to like 4B and kind of give your perspective of our conversation from our notes? And then I'll kind of add in if anything's missed of why we added that to the agenda.
Or
kind of skip over that.
4B, wait, there's 2 B's. I did it badly. Is it the first B or the second B?
Yeah.
Okay. How did our business grow so quickly, guys?
I would say word of mouth, the reputation that I know, I don't know because I wasn't here when it first started, but I would have to assume that like everything that Matt is telling us is something that he embodied and implemented when he was an agent and like when he was actively selling and listing homes. And so he's built this company that has this reputation that this is this is what you can come to expect when you work with someone from Matt Smith Real Estate Group.
Katie gets another gold star.
I want to add on to that, only because I feel I wasn't here as well when the company grew, but I feel like it's just the client experience in general is what grew the company, because when you make a good experience on one client, they're gonna want to tell their friends, their family, like, hey, this company took care of me. I recommend this company 100%. So it just comes from just building that experience and relationships with each client. So then they're going to want to spread the word, and it just expands from there.
Yeah, I'm glad Matt just wrote down word of mouth. I want to ask, what inspires people to recommend someone? Like, if you had such a great experience and you're going to recommend your dentist to someone because they did such a great job, what caused you to do that?
They're personable. They're,
Well,
So let's stay there. Really good word. What does personable mean?
they build relations, like they make you feel like, or like, not feel like you want to be their friend. You want to.
How many clients do you think feel that you are personable? If you don't have phone calls, you don't have video text, you just communicate via email. But you just said that's one of the most important things.
Mhm.
Right? Does that make sense? That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to stop there. And that's not to like pick on you or anyone. That's just like, hopefully that's an awareness of, we all would agree that's important. That's why we're having this meeting, right? So that we can be more personable. We can build better relationships. We can have more word of mouth. Katie, what were you saying?
well, I was gonna say like, because Jenna was asking like, what inspires you to like tell someone about something, and like for me, I feel like, especially lately, like the bar is really low in terms of what people have started to come to expect in certain like businesses, and so if you not only raise that bar, but if I'm doing something, so I'll use when I bought my new car when I first moved there, we weren't even planning on buying a car that day, but the car that I wanted was at a different dealership, like same kind of company, but it was just a different branch. They sent someone out there to drive that car back to the original dealership I was at so I could drive it and see it before we signed papers. I mean, I was there for 6 hours waiting for this car, but they wanted to make sure that I got to sit in the car and test drive it before I signed anything. And then they even gave me a loaner car off the lot. And then they drove the new car to our office to switch.
So what you're saying is we need to give out loaner houses.
No, but what I'm saying is,
I'm just kidding.
but what I was saying was like them doing all of that was like the farthest option from my mind. Like I was under the impression that I was going to trade my car in, but I wasn't going to be able to do that switch until they got the car in. And instead they just did all these extra things that like wouldn't necessarily be expected or necessary.
So let me ask you this, Katie. Go look at your task list. Pull up the task list right now in one of your files. How many of those tasks create that experience for the client? You don't have to really pull it up. You know it by heart.
Well, I mean, so I think the one task that we do have on our list is a floater, and it's our check-in. And that, like we move that throughout the entire process, but I think there are, like after this meeting, there are more things that we could be doing that align with what we're already doing. And those goals, like the calls and the video text, are to help improve, like make it less cookie cutter.
Yeah,
So what core value did, yes, one second, sorry. What core value that we have did your car dealership represent in your car buying experience?
They went the extra mile because there was nothing in that whole experience that what I would have assumed would have happened. Like I wasn't going to assume that they would do that.
Really good. How did that make you feel?
I felt special. And I felt like, I mean, granted, we were the only people in the dealership that day buying a car, so they didn't really have anything else to do. But they made sure that I was taken care of, and they made sure that at the end of the day, I was happy with the car that I was going to buy, because I could only see pictures of it online from their other dealership before they brought it over.
You felt special, you felt important, you felt like you were a priority.
Mhm.
It felt like they truly cared, right? So absolutely going the extra mile. Absolutely. That's why we brought that core value back. right? Because that is something that we need to strive to do every single day. And you mentioned something that's really, really important too. I say this all the time when I'm on one of my rants, but you go to a restaurant. How many times do you get good service at a restaurant these days? It's very rare. It's very rare that you don't have to ask them to refill your drink. As simple and basic as that, like, hey, my soda's empty. And they say, oh, I have to stop, wave them down. Hey, can you fill this up? Instead of them seeing it half empty and coming by and filling it up before I have to ask. Which one of those two am I getting a better experience? It's something as simple as that, right? Does that make sense? Like the world we live in, the point that I wanted to really highlight and give you a real life example is that I live my world through the lens of how is the experience of people around me? Because I believe, Katie hit the nail on the head, the reason that we are standing in the room that we're standing in today, we have the team that we have is because I focused on the client experience. And I feel like as we've grown and expanded, that has gotten a little bit lost in translation. It's no one's fault. No one's doing anything wrong, but I want to adjust course. And now that we have more people aligned with our mission, aligned with our values, I think we can even enhance the client experience. And if we're able to do that, how much more opportunity, how much more growth, how much more fun are we going to have? How many more lives are we actually going to impact and change? Like I said, without client experience being a focus, nothing else matters. Nothing else. A quote that I wrote here, there's a couple quotes that we'll probably circle back to. But the quote that this reminds me of is the heart chooses and the mind justifies. What Katie shared in her experience at the dealership, why did she buy the car? She didn't plan on buying it. Why did she do it? Was it because they gave her a better price? Was it something logistical? Was it something that was a detail, that was a number, that was a task, that was a checkbox? Or was it something that I can actually get person to person with the human and I can tie to their emotional connection as a human being and say, what can I do to make them feel special, a priority, and important? And then voila, Katie buys a car. Does that make sense?
The 0.9% APR really helped too.
So Katie's very analytical, so that didn't hurt, right? But my point being, if they hadn't done what they had done, you could have still got the same interest rate. Would you have bought a car that day? You don't know for sure. You can't say without a doubt that you would have.
I don't
Right?
know.
Does that make sense? That was just that extra little mile that it took for you to make the purchase.
Yeah.
Cool. Melanie, you were gonna say
No,
something.
it's fine. It's more of a theory.
Okay.
I'll maybe save it at the end.
Jenna, we got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to follow me. And this is, guys, by the
This
way,
is so good.
I'm blown away with how good this is. I appreciate the interaction. Like, I'm learning stuff here, so I appreciate it. You guys agree? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. One of the things before we go. All right. So who knows what this is?
Bad cut pie chart.
What else is it? Because that's correct.
First of all, I said pie chart first.
Katie gets you've already gotten 2 gold stars. You've got your chance.
Clarify, I said pie chart first. I want to say that is going to be a breakdown of what our main focuses are,
Okay?
but you're kind of just scribbling in and now I'm not so sure.
So I'll tell you.
Okay.
I say the red's the task.
So I love where you guys are going. You're very, very close. This is how human beings receive communication. You guys have probably heard me give this speech to our agents, but guess what? It doesn't just apply to sales, it applies when you're dealing with humans. Because part of what you do is communicate with people on a daily basis, right? So, which color do you think is most important, green, blue, or red?
I'm going to say green is body language.
Okay? You're jumping way too far ahead, slow down. No more gold stars. Chill out. We're all out of gold stars for the day. So, which one is least important?
Red is
Red.
Smallest, and then I colored it red, stop doing it, right? So this is a study, this isn't Matt's world, this is a study that's been done by psychologists for years and years and years, and it's never changed. This has stayed steady for years. These are percentages. So if you were to guess, based on my great drawing here, what percentage is this box? 7%. Maybe it's a little big, that's on me. But 7%, okay? 7% of how people receive communication is what?
The word said.
The words that you say. How do we receive communication that are just the words that you say?
Phone calls.
Nope.
written,
Text message.
text, email.
Have you ever gotten a text or an email from someone? You're like, what the fuck, Tyler? Why are you being a douche? Right? I'm sorry, Tyler.
Literally all the time.
Right? Like, but have you ever gotten a text and you just like, you misinterpreted what they intended? And I picked up the phone, I'm like, Tyler, dude, what's the matter, man? Nothing. I'm in the best mood ever. Oh, all right. Well, I just misinterpreted what you said. Did that ever happen? Or have you ever been on the sending end of that? Happens to me all the time. my direct personality, I'm on the go, I just send it short and sweet, like, and people are like, why are you mad? Oh, whoops, I'm not. But it's because people can only receive 7% of what you are intending to say through the words that you use. Not saying words aren't important, but when you just use words, there's a 93% chance that you're misunderstood. What did Melanie say that she notices a difference when she's having conversations with people versus emails and texts?
I want to see if they listen to me.
Huh?
I want to see if they listen to me.
Yeah, someone tell me. What did Melanie share?
That she has better relationships whenever she.
But how? Yes, but how did she get those better? What did she feel from those conversations that was different?
When you talk to people on the phone, you can hear their tone.
That's another way that people receive communication. What percentage would you guess this is?
40%.
Close.
40.
38%. Take that as a win. 38%. So that's why when you have a phone call with someone, you can understand what they're saying, what their intentions are, what their emotions are, what their tonalities are, unless you're talking to Ryan Reagan by a conversation. Everyone laughed. I love it. I love it when a Ryan joke hits. Okay. But my point being is, so if you just do this is email and text, right? You do this, it's a phone call. So now you have a 45% chance of them understanding, interpreting your intentions with the phone call. And then leaving that conversation with the perception to go back to the other side that you intended to have in that conversation. Make sense? So that leaves us what? Katie kind of spoiled it. What is this one, Katie?
Body language.
Over half of how human beings receive communication is through body language. If I would have been talking to you the whole time and I just did this and I said over half of how people receive communication is body language. Is it the same effect? That's why video texts are important. That's why phone calls are important. We're going to go back to the circle all the way back to perception. Our client experience is the perception that they have of our experience to them. We need them to receive 100% of communication, or at least as close to it as we can. It doesn't mean that there aren't things that need to be very specifically said in very specific words multiple times throughout the contract. Absolutely, it does. But that's after we have a phone call. We explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and I'm going to send you an email to recap. Make sense? Jen, anything to add to that? I agree with my next meeting.
I think that's perfect. I thought this has been a phenomenal meeting. I so appreciate all of the engagement and participation throughout it. A couple to-dos from it. I'm going to do a recap so you guys have all of this information. We're going to do the data dump in the L10. I'll get that put together. But another one, I want all of you to ask yourselves, if your sole job was you're a customer service representative for Matt Smith Real Estate Group, that is your sole job. What things would need to be taken off of your plate for that to happen? For it to be solely customer service rep. Does that make sense?
By the way, we're not doing that and changing your title. It's just a cool exercise. So just trust the process, please.
Awesome.
Guys, thank you so much for being open-minded and for your engagement. I hope this was valuable. I appreciate your time and excited to see where we can go with the client experience from here.
Awesome. Sweet. All right, I'll send out that recap email. Everyone have an awesome day. See you later.